We have the secondary citizen to Simone Biles, that is Jordan Childs. Time Magazine's telling us that this isn't really the Women of the Year. These are the secondary citizens of the Women of the Year. At least when it comes to A'ja Wilson and Jordan.
You won't believe this. No, not even in your wildest dreams. Just when we thought Caitlin Clark had done it all, Time Magazine pulls the most ridiculous stunt yet. And right at the center of it, A'ja Wilson. At this point, they're just making things up for fun. I had to double check to see if this was a joke, but nope, it's real. And trust me, you're going to want every single detail. Buckle up, let's get into it.
You work, it still feels like you're not getting the recognition. It still feels like somebody's got to say something to say. I needed them to understand that they help me in more ways than they'll ever know. It's hard showing up every day and wearing this crown. It's heavy. It gets extremely heavy. But at the same time, I'm going to fix it, make sure it's straight, and I'm going to go ahead and do my work.
So Time Magazine really thought they could just skip over Caitlin Clark for Women of the Year and no one would notice? Like seriously, we weren't supposed to catch that? We weren't supposed to ask questions? Caitlin Clark, arguably the most famous women's basketball player on the planet right now, shattering records, pulling in the highest viewership numbers, and single-handedly pushing women's basketball into the mainstream. And yet somehow, she's not even a nominee. But guess who is? A'ja Wilson.
Don't overreact, don't get angry, don't get frustrated. Don't be surprised. I don't think anybody should be surprised by this. And this isn't A'ja Wilson's fault. This is just Time Magazine doing what Time Magazine does.
Let's break this down because none of it makes sense. Caitlin Clark has single-handedly made women's basketball the hottest topic in sports media. She's got NBA stars watching, celebrities tweeting, and TV networks scrambling to air more of her games. When's the last time a college player had this kind of impact?
I can do better situation. And this is another case scenario because Time Magazine, let's pull it up right now. Now, I was stunned when I seen this, guy. I was definitely stunned when I seen this. As you guys can see here, Time Magazine has named A'ja Wilson, and which Jordan Childs definitely deserved this. Jordan Childs.
And then there's A'ja Wilson. The same A'ja Wilson who, yes, is a great WNBA player, but let's not pretend she's revolutionizing the sport. Yet somehow, she's not just nominated, she's the face of the magazine. Front and center. Big cover star. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark? Not even mentioned. Not even a footnote. And it's not like Caitlin just had a good year. She had a historic year. Breaking records left and right. Selling out arenas. Pulling in ratings WNBA players can only...
Woman of the Year cover. You're one of the 10 women, I guess, in sports that they're saying are Women of the Year. So you get your cover. Today is your day. What a day to celebrate.
And don't even get us started on A'ja Wilson acting like she's the face of women's basketball. Let's be real. The only time people talk about the Aces is when they're out here bullying other WNBA teams. Yet somehow A'ja gets all the flowers while Caitlin, who actually moves the needle, gets absolutely nothing. And let's talk about viewership. Caitlin Clark's games are pulling NBA-level ratings, while A'ja Wilson's games are getting outviewed by reruns of The Price is Right. But she's Woman of the Year? Okay, time. See, what we're not going to do is act like this isn't the biggest snub of the year. This is worse than Leo DiCaprio waiting years for an Oscar. Worse than Cole losing Best Rap Album to Macklemore. This is disrespect at the highest level. Let's be real. Time Magazine fumbled. They thought no one would notice. They thought Caitlin's fans wouldn't say anything. But nah, we see it clear as day. Caitlin Clark deserved that nomination more than anyone. And the fact that she wasn't even considered? That tells us everything we need to know about Time.
Caitlin Clark, or have a rivalry with Caitlin Clark, or have an incident dust up with Caitlin Clark, or say something slick about Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark took the WNBA by storm. She changed the game, brought in millions of new fans, and had the world talking about women's basketball like never before. Sold out arenas. Record-breaking viewership. Pure dominance on the court. She was out here shattering records, putting up numbers we've never seen before. Yet somehow, someway, Time decided that A'ja Wilson is Woman of the Year. A'ja Wilson. Really? The same Asia Wilson who's been in the WNBA for years, but outside of hardcore fans, nobody really cared? The same Asia Wilson who wasn't packing out arenas, wasn't making casual fans tune in, and wasn't making people say, "Yo, I gotta watch the WNBA tonight." That Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark stepped into this league and instantly put it on the map. She made people care. Before her, the WNBA was background noise at the barbershop. Now, it's must-watch TV. And for that, she gets disrespected. Trashed by players. Slandered by analysts. And now, overlooked by Time magazine. They gave the spotlight to a player who's been here for years, but hasn't moved the needle like Caitlin. Make it make sense.
For 27% of the entire WNBA's economic activity for this past season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. One player in a big league responsible for 27% of the economic impact and economic activity for the WNBA. One person more than a quarter of it.
Let's talk about adversity. Caitlin Clark has dealt with more hate than any rookie in WNBA history. The moment she stepped into the league, people were out to get her. Players took cheap shots at her on the court. WNBA vets clowned her, mad that she became the face of the league overnight. Media members threw shade, questioning if she was even that good. Meanwhile, Asia Wilson? She gets praised left and right like she's carrying the WNBA on her back. But let's be real, Caitlin Clark is the one doing all the heavy lifting. And through all of it, Caitlin still dominated. She broke records, made history, proved every hater wrong. And yet, Time magazine decided to ignore all of that and hand the award to someone who didn't even have half her impact. What did Asia Wilson do that was so groundbreaking? Win a championship? That's cute. Caitlin Clark literally won the championship of making the WNBA relevant. That's way bigger than a trophy. Asia Wilson winning Woman of the Year is like giving MVP to a role player while the superstar carries the team.
Or more points, 75 or more rebounds, and 75 or more assists. Doing so in just 15 games, beating Shannon Johnson's record of 16. This is just another way to prove that she is without a doubt a generation.